Well, before we begin, I'd just like to encourage you to follow Secrets of the Ancients, to watch this and future videos, support us by subscribing, liking, and, leaving a comment. The shocking things they're finding around the pyramids, I must say, are truly astonishing. Egyptologists have been digging around every inch of the Great Pyramid for decades, yet somehow they completely missed a stunning pink granite bathtub buried just a few miles away. And here's the deal. This mysterious oval tomb near the Pyramid of Khufu might actually prove the ancient Egyptians didn't just build pyramids to honor their kings, but maybe also to generate electricity. That's right. Experiments like this might have happened way before Alessandro Volta or Thomas Edison. The Giza Plateau is famous for its three pyramids, Khufu, Khafre and Menkaure. But there are two smaller foundations nearby, the unfinished northern pyramid of Zayat Elan and a step pyramid. Some experts say they were never completed. Others believe they were destroyed for mysterious reasons, possibly connected to their original purpose, maybe even as parts of a giant energy project. To connect the dots, let's rewind to the early 1900s. Italian architect and Egyptologist Alessandro Barranti was studying the Zayat Elan pyramid when he noticed something odd nearby. Granite fragments scattered around. At first glance they looked insignificant, but Barranti recognized the signs. See, the ancient Egyptians often prepped stones on site before shipping them elsewhere, and granite was more valuable than the limestone normally used in pyramid construction. That meant it might have been used for something more important or hidden. At a depth of 68 feet, they found a huge block of pink granite. As they kept digging, they discovered ancient carvings on the stone. They sent sketches to experts, but nobody could decode them. Were they instructions for something? Then came Barranti's biggest find, an oval-shaped granite tub, polished like a mirror and sealed tight. When they opened it, they found a thin black residue on the inside, possibly some kind of oily substance. This raised a lot of questions. Why would the ancient Egyptians go to such lengths to seal and protect this strange tub? By 1911, Barranti had to stop his work, but his discoveries caught the attention of researchers worldwide, and they had their own theories. One modern idea suggests the pyramids were actually part of a much larger system, with Khufu's pyramid acting as a giant water pump to irrigate the desert. The chambers inside may have functioned like a hydraulic system. In the 1990s, an engineer took this theory seriously and examined the subterranean chamber. Surprisingly, there were signs of water damage. It looked like the pyramid could have generated strong pressure waves, or pulses, capable of producing electricity. So, the big question, could the ancient Egyptians have used pyramids to create power? On paper, yes, but agreeing on what the pyramids were really used for is one of the hardest debates in archaeology, so we still can't say for sure. Either way, Egypt remains a treasure trove of discoveries that could change what we know about humanity's past. For example, scientists recently uncovered what looks like a cosmic control room straight out of a Doctor Strange movie. A massive L-shaped astronomical observatory covering 9,000 square feet, dating back to the 6th century BCE. It's the largest and oldest of its kind. The mud brick structure includes tools used to calculate royal coronation dates, harvest schedules, and religious events. It's located at the Temple F archaeological site, about 50 miles east of Alexandria. You enter through an east-facing doorway designed to catch the sunrise. Inside, you'll find a massive 16-foot sundial that tracks time using shadows. And get this! They also discovered the world's first pregnant mummy. Although we know a lot about mummification, this was something new. She was placed in a man's coffin, specifically a priest's, which is why it took so long to realize she was pregnant. Historians say that in the 1800s, Coffin switching was common among traders who wanted to boost sales. Some even opened tombs, replaced mummies, and resealed them. The mummified woman was about 20 to 30 years old and lived around 2,000 years ago. She was well preserved and likely belonged to a wealthy class, based on the special amulets buried with her. But mummification varied across Egypt, so researchers still don't fully understand why she was buried with her unborn child. Speaking of mummies, in Saqqara, scientists found two embalming workshops. One was for humans, the other for sacred animals. These sites date back about 2,400 years and were stocked with stone beds, pottery and ritual tools. That's not all. They also found 3,000-year-old cheese stored in jars behind the tombs. Yep, cheese. Turns out the ancient Egyptians were experts at food preservation too. Their skills in storing both food and bodies show just how advanced their tech really was. Another stunning find. One of the oldest fully gold-covered mummies ever. The body belonged to a rich man named Heka. His remains were wrapped in a belted vest and gold jewellery, with a golden band around his head, all signs of elite status. They had to chip away at plaster to reach him, like opening a 4,300-year-old time capsule. Now for something truly bizarre. Scientists detected giant plasma bubbles floating above the pyramids. They used a highly advanced radar called LARED, or low-altitude ionosphere detection. These bubbles mess with modern tech. They can disrupt GPS and phone signals for hundreds of kilometers. Some are the size of entire cities. They form when charged particles in the ionosphere suddenly vanish, creating chaotic waves. In 1936, British Egyptologist Walter Bryan Emery found something strange in the desert. A small object that sparked theories about UFOs and alien engines. He found it in the tomb of a high-ranking official named Sabu, whose life and role remain mysterious. Among the usual burial goods was a weird, broken artifact, now called the Sabu disc, a shallow bowl with 3 curved lobes spaced evenly around the edge and a central tube. It was made from schist, a fragile stone that flakes easily. How did they carve it with basic tools? No one knows. Some thought it was a ritual item, others now believe it was part of a machine, possibly a centrifugal pump. One historian even 3D printed a replica and tested it. The disc displaced water and created whirlpools. Its shape seemed optimized for fluid movement. Ancient Egyptians may have been experimenting with water engineering way ahead of their time. Some think it's a stone replica of a metal part from an even older, more advanced civilization, or even from an alien spaceship. Others say it might have been a rope-weaving tool or a massive oil lamp. The truth? Still unknown. There's also the Piri Reis map, made in 1513 by a Turkish admiral who never crossed the Atlantic. He combined 20 regional maps, including one drawn by Columbus. Some thought it showed Antarctica without ice, but that's been debunked. Another oddity, the Klerksdorp spheres, tiny grooved balls found in South Africa in the 1980s. Some thought they were artifacts from an ancient advanced civilization, but geologists say they're naturally formed over time. Still, they're weirdly symmetrical and have strange grooves. In China, the Baigong pipes were discovered sticking out of a mountain and near a lake. Some said aliens made them. Tests showed mostly common metals, but also 8% unknown material. Some scientists believe they were fossilized tree roots. Still a mystery. In Romania, workers found the wedge of AIUD, an aluminum object buried next to mastodon bones. Since aluminum wasn't discovered until the 1800s, people assumed it was ancient, maybe from another world. Others say it's just a misidentified man-made object. Finally, near the Great Pyramid, archaeologists recently detected a hidden underground structure using ground-scanning tech. What's inside? No one knows yet, but it's made from something solid, possibly stone or metal. It has 2 levels, one shallow L-shaped and 6 feet underground, the other much deeper and denser. There are theories. It might be a lost burial chamber, a sunken offering chapel, or something we've never seen before. The only way to know is to dig, and that's what archaeologists are doing now, but they have to be extremely careful. The ancient structures at Giza are fragile and irreplaceable. These tombs have always held secrets. The tombs were supposed to be untouchable, but that didn't last. The famous tombs of the Egyptian kings were supposed to be the ultimate secure locations. They were built deep underground, hidden out in the desert. Massive stone blocks sealed off the passages. Fake doors and deadly traps were added to confuse any thieves. Some walls even had curses carved into them, warnings of terrible fates for anyone who dared to disturb the tomb. And that's exactly where all those spooky mummy stories came from. But spoiler alert, none of it worked. Most of the tombs in the Valley of the Kings were completely looted within 100 years of being sealed. Even the tomb of King Tut, one of the most famous in history, was broken into twice in ancient times. Some pharaohs tried to fight back. Rulers of the new kingdom started building secret, unmarked tombs to keep robbers away, but that didn't help much. Others, like Ramses II, had their bodies secretly moved to avoid being stolen. Still, it didn't matter. The grave robbers always won. That's because they weren't just random thieves. These were skilled, organized, and well-connected professionals. They knew exactly where to look. A lot of them were the same workers who had built the tombs in the first place. They knew where the entrances were, and if they couldn't break through the doors, they'd just dig through the walls, floors, or ceilings to get in. They also worked fast, usually just a few years after the tombs were sealed, while people still remembered where the treasures were. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, the one next to a recently discovered structure, was looted long before modern times. By the time explorers got there, all that was left inside was an empty granite box where the sarcophagus used to be. Sadly, it's not just the gold that gets stolen, it's the history. The ancient Egyptians kept detailed records of what was buried and where. So when archaeologists compare those lists to what they actually find, they often see that everything valuable is missing. Most of those stolen artifacts don't end up in museums. They disappear into private collections where nobody can study them again. And that's not fair at all. Some countries have had enough. They've started passing laws to get their historical artifacts back from private collectors. In Italy, for example, if you own an ancient Roman artifact, you have to prove you got it legally. China is actively hunting down stolen relics and finding ways to bring them back from Western collectors. In Egypt, new laws now ban regular citizens from owning any ancient Egyptian artifacts. Meanwhile, countries like the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany and Switzerland don't seem to mind when the wealthy own pieces of their history. The British Museum, for instance, is packed with looted treasures. European empires once conquered half the world and brought back whatever they wanted. Many of their museums are full of items taken by force, and unfortunately, most of those countries refuse to give them back. Take the Rosetta Stone, for example. Napoleon's army stole it from Egypt. Then the British took it from the French after defeating them. Egypt has been asking for it back for years, but still hasn't been able to reclaim it. Or the Parthenon Marbles, giant Greek sculptures stolen from the Parthenon in Athens by a British lord in the 1800s. Greece has been begging to have them returned ever since, but the United Kingdom refuses. And then there are tons of Central American artifacts scattered across museums worldwide. European explorers raided Maya and Aztec temples, stealing statues, jewelry and sacred items, and now Mexico is fighting to bring them home. So is it really that surprising if even this newly found underground chamber has already been looted somehow? But if this is a new discovery, could it be one of the rare few that escaped the grave robbers? Could there still be ancient artifacts inside, untouched for 4,500 years? We can only hope the looters didn't get there first. When you hear about ancient relics, you probably don't imagine them hanging off a tree branch or just sitting out in the open somewhere, right? That's because for most ancient artifacts now on display in museums around the world, archaeologists had to do a massive amount of digging to find them. Because here's the thing, old buildings don't last long if no one takes care of them. Settings. Use a male, clear American voice for speaker 4. Don't add any subtitle.